In the last 3 years, guys, there seems to be these average movies that also are highly overrated. But for some strange reason, just are selected to be the big thing in that particular year. In 2024, that was June, and last year that was Sinners, and one battle after another. This year, it seems to be Project Hail Mary, but we will break down why this is indeed another average movie that is just selected to be great, but actually is a very average movie. If we start with the first bad point of this movie, it has to be the structure. You start with Ryan Gosling waking up into space alone, trying to find out what has happened. And that's perfectly alright, but you jump back and forth very much in this movie, giving it the highly messy structure, also seen in movies like Arrival or the new Superman movie. I'm not saying that it cannot work, I just would prefer that they did a backstory and explain the mission first, rather than just going back to that hangar ship an exclusive number of times in the movie, when they have prepared the mission, rather than perhaps showing you the actual mission rather than the build up to it. Secondly, Ryan Gosling is not that impressive in this lead role. He is talented with the facial expression here, like always, but that people start comparing him with greats such as Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Leonardo DiCaprio after this movie is just plain absurd, because although he plays decent and is allowed to basically almost be the whole movie, I see no super great performance by the lead actor in the movie. He does a decent act, but when Ryan Gosling acts, I do not feel the tension of the drama in the story that should have been feeling. A third thing about the movie is the pacing, because it is quite bad. The most interesting feature of the movie is when he meets this alien rock-like creature that becomes his friend and calls him Rocky, but that does not happen until half an hour into the movie, so that tells me that the movie has a slow pacing, and we could easily trim a couple of scenes to make him meet this rock-like creature earlier, but we will get back to that. While I mostly see bad stuff in this average movie, I do appreciate that the movie is more unique than the classical alien movies like Alien Covenant or Prometheus. At the same time, the movie feels kind of unserious and a bit corny. It does also conduct the concept to understand aliens in a better way than Arrival, at least in a more entertaining, less deeper way. Nevertheless, at the core, the movie feels like this visually impressive movie that, of course, is superior visually, but lacks the real clear substance to be a great sci-fi movie. But a reason for that might just be that people do not really make that much sci-fi anymore, so then when a movie like this comes along, it immediately gets overhyped because people are just hungry for sci-fi, but they fail to grasp the quality of better sci-fi movies, and fail to remember what made them good. That could at least be an explanation for the massive good reviews. Another critique about the movie I have to give comes down to the lack of dramatic moments. For example, in the first opening minutes of the movie, he wakes up alone and does not know what has happened. He is alone in a spaceship, fair enough. The story is then told piece by piece in different flashbacks as he dozes off a couple of times. But I do not feel that Ryan Gosling with the performance here makes me feel the drama in the situation, which is a strong weakness in this movie, and why Ryan simply is not an A-list actor. In the last part here, I will give a general comment on how the movie could have been better, and a little feature it also does well. The feature that they do well is that they explain the advanced stuff about the sun dying and about this astrophage stuff in a good enough way, where you need 2 million of these in production to use for the space travel. If we now go into what could have made the movie better, there are two alternatives. Either the lead character in the story, could meet this rocky alien a little earlier, or the alternative is that we could see how the crew of Ryan Gosling / Rocky's crew died, instead of just hearing about it. Then again, making a much more dramatic and a better film, because half the time in the second part is just about Rocky and Ryan Gosling filming their findings from the ship anyway, which I do admit becomes very tiresome and makes the movie feel even less serious. For me, I do not understand why this movie is chosen as the next big thing this year, because once again, just like with June Part 2 or the other two movies mentioned from last year, it is an average movie that just for some reason is selected to be good. For me, this is a 5 out of 10, guys, and I'm far from impressed.